Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Safari Mack Explores North America, or specifically, the Bald Eagle Part 2. I'm Safari Mack, your guide and host, helping you make connections to the wild. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope everybody's been having a good second week so far, and if we're ready to take back to the skies with the King of North America, then let's take off. Let's continue on with the wild things. Now, first of all, with this wild thing, we have to refer back to part 1 with the Inhuman Cultures tab. So, as I mentioned, many different Native American groups all across adorn the bald eagle as a sacred animal and spirituality creature, as well as a symbol of courage and wisdom. But now, as I mentioned, their feathers are also adorned. In fact, there's a law across America that if you see a dead eagle, you must report it and allow authorities to take it away, because they actually donate these feathers to different Native Americans living on groups that are living on the reservations. In fact, here's a pretty cool thing about with how they symbolize the feathers. The Lakota, or those that once lived out in the Great Plains of the western part of America, where the bison once roamed in great numbers. These birds, they usually will, if somebody has a great achievement, like let's say one actually attended college and got a degree, they would actually give the feather to the graduate as a symbol, as a showing of great accomplishment. So imagine having that in addition to your diploma. That's pretty cool. Here's another wild thing that we have to refer back to from part 1. You may remember how I said eagles, usually breeding pairs at least, return to the same nest that they build throughout their entire lives, continuously adding new building materials to it. Well, in 1963 in Florida, one eagle's nest was actually found that weighed over 2,000 pounds. Imagine all the material they had to accumulate over the years. Now, a popular pastime activity in human cultures that we see is eagle cams, which are what you can log on online and watch eagles participating in how they're raising their young and their offspring. And one eagle in Southwest Florida had gained a bit of fame. This eagle here, with his eaglets, is called M15 in Southwest Florida. Now, in 2022, unfortunately, his mate was nowhere to be found. So it was assumed that either she couldn't return to the nest, either she got injured, or that she had sadly passed. So as a result, though, all on his own, he managed to successfully raise his 2 eaglets until they were big enough and old enough to be on their own and start learning to fly. So now, recently, in 2023, I'm happy to report that it appears that M15 has found a new female to take as his lifelong mate and begin raising new families for the next generation. But now, there's one more amazing thing in terms of eagle courtship, and that would be when they're choosing each other for a mate. So eagles they seem to have a kind of symbolic or amazing mating ritual dance. They fly up in the air, they're climbing up higher and higher, and at a certain point, they just drop. Locking their talons together, they drop in an amazing free fall. Maybe it's considered to be the ultimate test of faith for each other, that they can do what they can do to not only raise young, but that they can each depend on one another. So at a certain point, they unlock and they fly off to their nest. It really is an amazing spectacle, which I hope to see for myself in the future one day. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as I've done so far in Safari Mack Exploring North America, we have to go back in time to uncover the past threats and see how animals that we live with in North America are continuously facing challenges today. Now, for those that were born, back in the 40s and 50s, you may remember this kind of pesticide, DDT, right? This was a kind of pesticide that was used but with dust cropping planes to spray over fields of their crops. And at first it seems to be of little consequences, but according to the Fish and Wildlife Services, unfortunately, this proved to be a disaster because as a result, this pesticide would end up washed down riverways and waters to where it would contaminate not just the aquatic plants but also fish. And because bald eagles are a kind of big fish eater, they were getting poisoned and were dying in record numbers. But not just the adults. The unborn were also facing hard times too. This chemical actually interfered with their parents' ability to produce strong eggshells, which really is a source of calcium. So, because of that, the shells were so thin that they were breaking too quickly, and as a result, the chicks were dying. Thankfully, though, we managed to turn this around, and through protests and many different big-time people standing up for what they believed in and wanting to make changes, we saved bald eagles just in time. Yet today, they still face challenges, and I'm going to warn you, the images you're about to see are graphic, so viewer discretion is advised. Recently, last year, two men from Montana, who I will not mention their names, were accused and arrested for having killed over 3,600 birds, all to sell their parts and their feathers on the illegal underground market. It was an appalling and disgusting thing to ever see. Now, if the men are fully convicted, if they're found fully guilty of causing this atrocity, they will not only face 11 years in jail, but they will both have to pay up to a fine of up to $275,000 each. So in total, $550,000 for killing one of our greatest treasures of North America, our national bird. It really is just not worth it. Now, how do we continue to save these creatures for the future? Thankfully, as I've mentioned, first of all, we got to remember we chose this bird to be our symbol of freedom, especially in our struggles as we continue to grow and become the nation that we know we are today. But you know what? We've done so much other great things. For now, DDT is forever banned. It will never be used on North American soil again. And thanks to that and other conservation projects, bald eagle numbers are on the rise. And they are slowly beginning to return to places where they may have once occurred, but were driven out because of habitat loss as well as DDT. They're making a comeback. And it's a big thing too, because bald eagles are what you call a keystone species. What they do in their environment affects many others. But now, how can you help save bald eagles? For one, if you happen to see a bald eagle that's injured or something else, do not try to approach it. Because not only could you get seriously injured by these birds, as they will still defend themselves, but you could also face you could face jail time without even realizing it. It's just because these are protected by law, even if they're no longer on the endangered species list. It's just better for you to call the authorities. They'll know what to do, and they'll be able to help the birds quickly. Another thing to do not go anywhere near their nesting site. It's actually a law to never build anywhere near 200 feet within their nest site. But if you still want to help bald eagles without disturbing them, you can join groups that want to monitor bald eagles and see where they're going next or what they do. Volunteer, tell people about these animals. Tell them that we can help them. There's many ways you can help. If you can do all that, you're really going to become their greatest hero. Well, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to join me next week as we go to New York City to uncover a competitive bird with the bald eagle, the peregrine falcon. Till next week, this is Safari Mack, and I'll see you all out there.